I had always been a devoted wife, doing everything I could to keep our home in order and care for my two young sons, Logan and Mason. But ever since my mother-in-law moved in, life had become almost unbearably hard. When I first met James, he was everything I admired: charming, kind, confident, and successful. He ran 2 thriving businesses, an automobile shop and a large accounting firm. As for me, I was just an accountant working at his firm. That's how our paths crossed. It's quite the story. One day, I was running late for work. It was one of those days where nothing seemed to go right. My alarm didn't wake me, so I missed my train. Then, when I finally reached the office building, I missed the elevator I was rushing to catch because I tripped and spilled coffee all over my cream cashmere sweater. As I sat in the reception area, tears started to fall. That's when I heard a calm voice ask, "Are you okay?" I looked up, and there he was, James, my boss. I was shocked. "Yes, sir, I'm fine," I replied, quickly trying to wipe away the tears. "Is it okay?" he asked. "Clara," I answered, realizing he wanted to know my name. "It's okay, Clara. We all have those moments when we just need to let it out," he said softly. "I'm not having the best day myself," he added. Then, looking around, he'd asked, "Why are you sitting out here?" It was clear that having a tear-streaked employee in coffee-stained clothes in the reception wasn't exactly a professional look. "I'm sorry, I missed the elevator," I explained. "Why don't you come with me? We can use my elevator," he offered, extending his hand. Not only did he let me use his private elevator, but he also had his assistant take care of my clothes. That day, I hardly worked. I spent most of it in his office, where he opened up about how his fiancée had just left him and how his day had been rough too. We connected instantly, or at least I thought we did. He took me out to lunch, and from there, things just fell into place. It wasn't just his success that drew me in, he was also incredibly attractive. I often wondered what he saw in me. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm not unattractive, but he was one of those people who just seemed to have it all. The first year of our marriage felt like a dream. He would leave little gifts and notes for me to find around the house. My favorite note said, "You're a dream come true. You light up my life." He seemed perfect. But things started to change after I gave birth to our second son, Mason. While he was still sweet and helpful, he began making snarky comments about my weight. One night at dinner, James looked at me from across the table and said, "Hey, babe, if you get pregnant again, no one's going to notice." "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "'Cause, James replied, waving his fork vaguely in my direction. "No, I don't know," I said, feeling anger rise inside me. "Do I really need to say it?" he asked. "Yes, you do," I snapped back. "Babe, calm down. It was just a joke," he said. "Implying I'm fat because I just had your child isn't funny," I replied. I pushed my barely touched plate away. I couldn't eat anymore. He often made these so-called jokes, but I knew how to handle him. Usually, he'd back off when he saw I was upset. Things took a turn for the worse once my mother-in-law came for a short vacation. I tried to make the best of it at first. She was family, and I wanted to be welcoming. But no matter what I did, she found something to criticize. It started small, like the way I folded the laundry or how I cooked dinner. One Sunday morning, she went out and bought fast food for herself and my husband. When I asked why, she simply said, "Darling, your meals are a bit dry and either too bland or too salty. Once you get it right, I'll stop buying takeout for my son and the grandkids." I was too upset to respond. I just ate the breakfast I had already made and cleaned up the kitchen. Soon, it felt like nothing I did was good enough. My husband took her side on everything. It wasn't just the criticism. They both seemed to enjoy his cruel jokes, which became more frequent and harsh. She encouraged his behavior, feeding his cruelty and disdain. They treated me worse than a servant, like a slave. They'd barked orders and expected me to drop everything to cater to their every demand. When I protested, they'd laugh and remind me that it was my duty as a wife to take care of them. James would sometimes say, "If you'd stop nagging, you might learn a thing or two from my mom." I finally reached my breaking point when he yelled at me for not sticking to his food schedule. "You're completely incompetent. You don't work or contribute in any way. I don't ask anything of you. I don't even care how you look. The one thing I do ask, you can't even get that right," he shouted, shoving his plate off the table. "I told you, dear, she's just lazy," added his mother, Eleanor. That night, I cried myself to sleep, feeling utterly worthless. I had always wanted to work. Many times, I begged James to let me get a job. He always refused, insisting it wasn't necessary. "My income is more than enough. Let me take care of you. All you need to do is look after our kids and yourself," he would say. It was unbearable, but I knew I couldn't just sit there and take it. I couldn't endure their abuse any longer. I decided I had to do something. I needed revenge. So, I started planning. I knew they both had their weaknesses, and I was determined to use them, just as they had used my love and vulnerabilities. The first step was to act like the perfect wife again. I cleaned the house from top to bottom every day without a word of complaint. Dinner was always on time, and I even followed Eleanor's favorite recipes exactly. I did their laundry, ran their errands. But while I played the part, I began planting seeds of doubt. "Why do you treat me like a servant?" I asked James one day. "Shouldn't you start treating me like a partner instead?" He didn't respond, but I could see my words struck a chord. He liked to think of himself as a modern man against the patriarchy. I chose my tone carefully, more amused than frustrated. I knew that would work best. It seemed to get to him. After that, he started showing me a bit more respect. He called me honey, again, and even said please when he asked me to do something. To be honest, those were the only real changes. The cruel jokes became less frequent too. But Eleanor was harder to crack. She was a stern woman who seemed to enjoy making me miserable. But I knew her weakness. She adored her grandchildren. She often said, "Thank God they look just like their dad," as if it would have been a problem if they resembled me. She was always buying them gifts and seemed almost desperate to take over as their mother. She constantly questioned my parenting and tried to tell me how to raise my own children. She'd say things like, "That's not how you play with a 2-year-old," or "Those clothes aren't suitable for the children of a successful businessman." One day, she crossed the line when she asked, "Clara, why do you neglect your children?" I was so furious, I stormed out of the house. Knowing how much she loved my kids, I saw it as the perfect weak spot. I knew it was cruel, but this was war, and I wasn't pulling any punches. I began taking the boys out more, flaunting their affection for me in front of her, making sure she noticed how much attention they got. Slowly, I saw a shift in her. She started treating me with a bit more respect, even giving me her version of compliments on my cooking and cleaning. "This meal is acceptable," became her go-to phrase, even for her favorite dishes. It wasn't exactly high praise, but it was better than her usual comments. It was a gradual process, but it was working. I wasn't in a rush. I used the time to get back in shape, wanting to feel and look my best. Looking good was a key part of my plan. Before long, I knew I had them right where I wanted them. Then one fateful day, I decided to make my move. I had been planning this for weeks, and I was confident it would work. It was a Saturday morning. My husband and mother-in-law were in the living room, sipping coffee. She was reading the newspaper, and he was engrossed in his phone, probably answering emails. My 2 boys were on the floor, watching cartoons. I walked in with a big smile, carrying a tray of freshly baked chocolate chip muffins. "Good morning, everyone," I said cheerfully. I made muffins for breakfast. They both looked up, surprised. My mother-in-law seemed a bit suspicious, called it woman's intuition, But my husband just smiled and took a muffin. "They're delicious, honey," he said, taking a big bite. He could never resist chocolate chip muffins, his favorite. My mother-in-law sniffed the air, suspicious as always, but to my surprise, she actually took a tiny nibble of her muffin. I saw a hint of pleasure on her face as she chewed. And then, I dropped the bombshell. "I have something to tell you both," I said, setting down the tray. "Oh, what is it, dear?" James asked, barely looking up from his phone. "I'm leaving you." They both stared at me, stunned. "What?" my husband asked, his face pale as if he'd seen a ghost. He clearly didn't see this coming. "Yes, Jamie, you heard me. I'm done being pushed around, picked on, and treated like a slave by you and your mother. I'm tired of feeling like nothing I do is ever enough, like I'm not enough." "A slave," his mother scoffed. "You're just doing what a loving wife should do." "I have never asked more than that of you," James added. "And what about what a loving husband should do?" I asked. "I pay the bills, don't I?" he replied. "And that's where it ends," I sighed. "What do you mean?" he asked, pretending to be confused. "You constantly insult my looks and my body. You make me feel like a troll." "Oh, wait, you've actually called me a troll before," I shot back. "Listen, baby, please," he said, finally standing up and walking toward me. "You know I was just joking. Come on, you look nothing like a troll. You're so beautiful," he said, stepping closer. I stepped back, distancing myself from him. What is wrong with women these days? They're all so sensitive, Eleanor muttered, completely unremorseful. I ignored them both and took off my apron. In that moment, the apron felt like a symbol of our marriage, and I think my husband realized it. He had always been good at reading me. "Clara, honey, I can change," he said, his voice weak, and he even wobbled a bit, as if his legs were shaking. I'll stop making those silly jokes. You know I never meant to hurt you," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "It's not just the jokes, James. It's everything. I've already talked to my lawyer, and we're getting a divorce," I said firmly. "I told you she was no good. In my day, a woman wouldn't complain about her duties," my mother-in-law interjected, trying to force her way into the conversation. But this time, even he ignored her. "Really, Eleanor? You're still a woman, right? So why don't you pick up after yourself?" I shot back. Since she insisted on being part of the conversation, I gave her what she'd asked for. She was speechless. I had never spoken to Eleanor that way before. Usually, I'd just storm out, but this time, I was done. After putting her in her place, I left the living room, tired of the endless back and forth. Upstairs, my bags were already packed. I took my sons with me and headed to my sister's house. She fully supported my decision. She never liked him much from the start, always saying there was something off about him. "Clara, no one can be this perfect," she used to say. I thought she was just jealous, but now I realized she was spot on. James refused to sign the divorce papers at first. Instead, he bombarded me with constant phone calls and endless voicemails, all repeating the same things. It became a bizarre routine. I received at least 10 voicemails a day. The first few would be something like, "My love, my mom has left the house for good. I promised she was the problem, and now she's gone." Or, "I love you. Please come home. I miss you and the boys." But when I stayed silent, his ego took a hit. The next ones would turn ugly. "Who do you think you are? Plenty of women want me. You should be grateful I'm even thinking of taking you back." It was a vicious cycle. Then, one day, he finally signed the papers. He still sees our boys every weekend, but I avoid him as much as possible. I'm happy with my decision, and I'm slowly reclaiming my independence.
Hello, my name's Mabel, and I'm 30 years old. Recently, I came into a large fortune, and it revealed the ugly side of my husband. Today, I want to share my story and how I unintentionally exacted revenge on two people at once. To start, let me introduce myself a bit more. Though I grew up away from my grandparents, we were very close. They visited us every few months just to spend time with me. I was especially close to my grandmother, the apple of her eye, and she never ceased to spoil me. When my grandfather passed away when I was 17, I was devastated. My grandmother didn't take it well either. To be closer to her, I chose a college in her state. It was there that I met my ex-husband, Toby. Toby and I started dating in our junior year and had a pretty good relationship. He was everything I was looking for in a partner, so we continued our relationship after graduation. We got engaged a few months later but decided to wait until we were financially stable to get married. In the meantime, since I had a better apartment, Toby moved in with me. While my relationship with Toby was great, his sister Julia and I couldn't get along. She lived in another state with her husband but doted on Toby obsessively. She hated me from the moment we met, probably thinking I was stealing her baby brother. She was always rude and unaccommodating. The only reason I tolerated her visits was her daughter Viola. Viola and I got along very well, and Julia appreciated the break when I looked after her daughter. Despite Julia's behavior, Toby never stood up for me, too afraid to hurt his sister. Not wanting to cause a rift, I kept quiet and dealt with it. 3 years after our engagement, Toby and I were financially stable enough to get married. It was an amazing day, and everything seemed perfect until 4 years into our marriage. 2 major events occurred. First, my grandmother passed away, leaving me heartbroken. I inherited about $1 million in money and assets, but her loss overshadowed any material gain. Second, Julia and her family moved back to town. Suddenly, Toby was rarely home, always at Julia's place, and when he was home, Julia was often around. The only solace I found was spending time with Viola. Grieving my grandmother's death, I felt abandoned by Toby. One day, Toby came home alone after work, a rare occurrence. "Hey, sweetie, how was your day?" I asked. "It was pretty good. What about you?" "Oh, same old. I went to meet Julia, and we got to talking. You seem to be visiting Julia a lot." "You know, we're really close. I miss her and I guess I just feel better when I'm around her. Anyways, do you want to know what we talked about?" "Yeah, sure. Tell me." "Well, I told her we were planning on buying a house." "I'm going to cut you off right there. I never agreed to that. Just listen to me." Julia asked how I had the funds for it, and I told her about your inheritance. She suggested it would be a great investment. "And why is that?" "You have more than enough money to almost fully purchase a house. I think we should invest in it to be well settled for the rest of our lives. But I want to invest my money elsewhere. What's better than securing a house for ourselves? I can think of several better uses for our future. I don't want to spend all my money on one thing." "It's like you're saying your money is yours and not mine." "Well, it kind of is. I get to decide what I want to do with it, and you have no say in it. Look, you either invest your money in something for both of us, or I'm leaving." "Where would you go?" "You're begging me to buy a house with my money for your future. If you leave, that's your loss." "So you're okay with me leaving because you want to keep your money?" "Don't twist my words, Toby. You're the one threatening to leave if I don't spend on you. I thought you loved me and wanted to spend your future with me. Forgive me for looking out for us. You're really bad at whatever you're trying to do here. I'm keeping my money and deciding how to spend it." "Fine, but could you at least think about spending it on a house for us?" "Sure." I wasn't sure why Toby was so adamant about buying the house, but something didn't seem right. I knew I had to stand my ground. Toby began to distance himself from me. After that conversation, Toby began spending even more time at Julia's place. Julia stopped coming over except to drop Viola off for babysitting. I tried talking to Toby multiple times, asking him what was wrong, but he always brushed me off, insisting everything was fine. Eventually, I gave up, figuring I'd wait until he was ready to talk. However, things took an unexpected turn when Julia dropped Viola off one day. "Hey Viola, how's my favorite niece doing?" I greeted her. "I'm your only niece," she replied with a giggle. "Still my favorite though. I hope I'll always be your favorite." "Of course you will be. So what do you want to do today?" "I was thinking we could get our nails done and then have some ice cream." "Yay, can I paint my nails pink?" "Of course you can. And can I get strawberry ice cream?" "Why not? We'll get you everything you want. I only have one niece, and if I don't spoil her, would I really be her aunt?" "You know you're my favorite aunt. I really will miss you." "Miss me, sweetie. What do you mean?" I'm not going anywhere. Are you sure? Yes, of course. Where do you think I'll be going? Well, it's just that. What is it? You can tell me anything. I promise I won't tell anyone else. Okay, well, I heard Mommy and Uncle talking the other day. Uncle as in Uncle Toby? Yeah. Mommy said she's going to help Uncle with getting some cases. Cases? What are you talking about? They kept talking about some cases that would give them some money. Then she told Uncle Toby that he would have a nice big house after you left. You. What? Oh my God, sweetie, when did you hear about this? About 2 days ago. Are you sure you heard correctly? Yes, I'm sure. As soon as Mommy saw that I was listening, she yelled at me to go to my room. She also told me not to tell you anything, but I only told you because you're my favorite aunt. Thank you so much, sweetie. Now enough of this, let's go out and have a fun day. I tried my best to go about the rest of the day as if I hadn't heard what Viola told me. I could tell she felt bad for telling me, but I reassured her she did nothing wrong. I spoiled her just like always. When it was time for her to go home, I made her promise not to tell her mom or Toby what she had told me. Viola promised and hugged me goodbye before Julia picked her up. As soon as they left, panic rose in my chest. I knew something was wrong with Toby, but to trick me into spending my money on him was a new low. It was something I would never have expected from him. Unsure of what to do, I called Toby's father, Edgar, who was a lawyer. Although he could have been in on Toby and Julia's plan, I had a gut feeling that he was a good man. He always treated me like a princess and put Julia in her place whenever she tried to bully me. Edgar picked up the call in his usual cheerful manner. Hello, darling. To what do I owe this phone call? Hi, Edgar. How are you? Oh, I'm doing quite well. What about you? I actually don't know. I called because I need your help. My help. What could I help you with? Isn't Toby around? He is, but he's kind of the problem. Oh no. I always told that boy to treat you right. It's hard to come by women as amazing as you. Thank you, Edgar. You may be the only one in your family who thinks I'm amazing. What are you talking about? Well, I was babysitting Viola the other day, and she told me that Toby and Julia are planning something against me. Against you? What do you mean? Viola didn't know the specifics, but apparently, they plan on taking money from me. What in God's name are you telling me? I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm worried, and I figured I'd come to you for help since you're a lawyer. You did the right thing coming to me. Now tell me, do you believe Viola? I do, because in the past few months, Toby has been distancing himself from me. I tried talking to him about it, but he never took me seriously. All right, and why do you think Julia is involved? Ever since she moved back, Toby has been spending a lot of time with her. It made sense at first since they were apart for years, but now he's at her house for hours every single day. That's strange. Did something happen a few months ago that might have triggered Toby's behavior? Yes, I received my grandmother's inheritance when she passed away. It was a substantial amount. Toby wanted to use it to buy a house, but I was hesitant. Since then, he's been acting weird. My guess is that they're planning to get your money. First of all, I'm so sorry my children are doing this to you. This is not how I raised them. Secondly, why don't you drop by my office tomorrow and we'll figure this out properly? That sounds great. And you have nothing to apologize for. You're clearly a good man. Thank you for helping me. I don't know what I would do without you. I was genuinely grateful that Edgar was willing to help. I hadn't expected him to side with me over his own children, but I was relieved he did. The next day, I took a day off work and went to Edgar's office. Once there, Edgar apologized again for Toby and Julia's behavior. I told him to focus on helping me navigate this situation. We suspected Toby was planning to ask for a divorce, so our first step was to contact all the reputable divorce lawyers in the city for advice. This would limit Toby's access to good lawyers due to conflict of interest, as they would already know my side of the story. Next, we needed to figure out how Toby and Julia planned to take my inheritance. Thankfully, I had kept my inheritance money in a separate bank account and hadn't used it to buy anything for Toby or myself. Although I had planned to buy Toby some luxury items he wanted, that clearly wasn't going to happen now. Since there was no legal way for them to access my money, Edgar and I concluded they might try to steal it outright. We decided to set up a trap to catch them in the act. I had a top-of-the-line security system installed in my apartment due to my paranoia about break-ins. Toby knew and agreed to this when he moved in. I then pretended to have trouble with my bank account, subtly letting Toby know that my bank details were logged on my laptop. Lastly, I told Toby I was going to meet a friend over the weekend, leaving him home alone. I then met Edgar, who would serve as a witness and corroborate my alibi. In the middle of our conversation, I received a notification that money had been transferred from my account to our joint account. I immediately called the police and reported the theft. When I got back from meeting Edgar, Toby was sitting in the dining room and asked me to sit with him. "We need to talk." "Oh? About what?" "About us." "Okay, we're not working out." "I agree." "You agree? What do you mean?" "Well, for starters, I didn't like how you threatened to end the relationship over money, something I would have spent on us had you not done that. I didn't think that you would. And that's another point. You think so little of me, and I don't think that's a sign of a good partner. As if you've been a good partner, you've been selfish since the start, and I only put up with it because I loved you. How in the world was I selfish? I helped you pay off your student loans before mine. I supported you for a whole year when you didn't have a job. I sacrificed so much to make sure you were happy. The few times I didn't do what you wanted, I became a selfish monster to you. Don't act like what you did was some righteous thing. I would have done the same for you. Would you? You never helped me out when I was sick. Why would I think you'd sacrifice your comfort for me when I really needed it? You're just trying to make me feel bad. No, and the last reason I don't want to be with you is that I don't want to be with a lying, manipulative thief. What are you saying? Don't think I don't know about what you and Julia have been planning. I saw you transfer money out of my account into our joint account. I know you wanted to split that during the divorce. No, don't even bother. I know everything. You are a pathetic man, and I see no reason to be with you. Oh well, I'll still get half of what I transferred into our account. I still win. Will you? If I recall correctly, I had security cameras installed in my apartment, and you made that transaction from my laptop when I wasn't home. I've already reported you for theft. The police should be here anytime soon. You did what? Oh, here they come. Good luck. I'll see you in court. The relief I felt seeing Toby finally face the consequences of his actions was unparalleled. The following weeks were a nightmare of courtroom sessions and evidence viewing. Along with the theft charges, I filed for divorce. Edgar, my lawyer, fought long and hard to ensure Toby paid for his crime. Edgar won the case, and Toby was sentenced to 2 years in jail and fined an additional $30,000. Nothing was sweeter than the taste of revenge. Just as Edgar and I were celebrating our victory, Julia approached us. She had been absent during all the previous trials and chose to show up only on the day of the verdict. Her anger was evident as she pointed her finger at Edgar. "Dad, you were helping this witch. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't have helped Mabel." I don't know, because she literally put your son in jail. And he deserved his sentence. It will make him think twice before trying to steal from someone again." "How could you do that to your own son?" "No, Julia, how could you do that to your own brother? Don't think I didn't see the real reason behind your plan. You were going to help Toby get the money so you could also reap the benefits. I was trying to give him a break from this jerk here. You have no idea how toxic she is for him." "I don't think she was the toxic one, Julia. You were a bad influence on him, and he was stupid enough to fall for your little game. He's getting the punishment he deserves, and maybe now he'll think twice before ever listening to you. You know you're going to lose him this way. He will never talk to you again." "Good, because I have no children as far as I'm concerned." "Don't be so dramatic. I'll be here. But I'm not happy with the way you treated my baby brother." "As far as I'm concerned, neither you nor your brother are my children, because I know for a fact that this is not how I raise my kids." "What are you talking about?" "What I'm saying is that I'm disowning both of you. I want nothing to do with either of you." "You can't do that." "I actually can, and I'm going to do just that. This is all Mabel's fault. If she had thought of someone other than herself for a second, this wouldn't be happening." "No, you shouldn't have been so greedy. I was going to spoil Toby with all the things he wanted, but you had to interfere. You took away everything from him, and I hope you sit and think long and hard about what you did to your brother. Goodbye." I grabbed Edgar's hand, and we left. We couldn't help but chuckle at what had happened. I was happy Toby got what he deserved and that I was free of his manipulative ways. I did feel bad that Edgar had lost both his children because of me, but he assured me it was their own decisions that led to this outcome. I took him out for coffee, and we've maintained a good friendship ever since. Julia harassed me over text, but Edgar told her and her husband to leave me alone. This is where I unintentionally got revenge on Julia as well. Julia's husband had no idea about her involvement in what happened between Toby and me, so he called Edgar and was shocked to learn the truth. Their marriage had been on the rocks due to Julia's constant nagging about money while she refused to work. He did not appreciate her extreme actions and asked for a divorce. He also requested and received almost full custody of Viola, with Julia only getting her every other weekend. Thanks to a solid prenup, Julia got little alimony and was kicked out of their house. She blamed it all on me, but I was a little happy to see her get what she deserved. Despite everything, I still got to see Viola often, as she loved me and Julia's ex-husband couldn't say no to her. He was very apologetic, but I reminded him he had nothing to apologize for. And yes, I am spoiling Viola senseless. As for me, my life has only gotten better. I got a promotion at work and hired an accountant to manage my finances. I've invested my money in several places and it's only a matter of time before I see returns. Getting to where I am today took a lot of struggle, but the view from here is one I'm loving. I have a better understanding of people now, and I'll be much more cautious in the future. Thank you for your time. Hello, I am Nancy, and I am 29 years old. My life has been a rocky road most of the time, but I would go through all those years of hardship again to become who I am today. To move forward with this story, I need to start from the very beginning. I was born and raised in the small town of Fairfield, Iowa. Growing up, it was just me and my mom. My dad struggled with alcoholism. From what my mom told me, he lacked stability as an adult. I don't remember much about him because he left when I was only 3. Since then, he has never been part of the picture. After my dad left, my mom's life took a turn for the worse, and she struggled to cope. Occasionally, we received financial help from my grandparents, which was a great relief. To support our family, my mom took on several shifts at a diner owned by Richard and Eleanor Evans. I attended school with their son, Ethan, who would later become my ex-husband. Initially, Ethan and I did not get along, but as we grew older, we developed a special connection and became close friends. We started dating when I was 16. Eleanor never seemed to approve of our relationship and began to distance herself from my mother. The Evans family was not very wealthy either. Although the diner was decent, it didn't perform exceptionally well. Ethan often confided in me about his parents' late-night arguments concerning the struggles of their business. Everything went downhill in the summer of 2016. During that time, I was working in a bookstore, determined to save up for college. I knew that coming from a small town did not limit my dreams. In fact, I had always wanted to make it big in life. Unfortunately, my mom had an accident. After fighting for her life in the hospital for a month, she finally passed away. I was devastated. She was the only blood family I had ever known apart from my grandparents. I felt very lost in life. Ethan became my pillar of support and pulled me out of the darkness I was in. I decided to leave my job at the bookstore and take up my mom's spot at the diner, as they offered better pay. Sadly, I had to give up on my college dreams and fend for myself since I was now on my own. Around 8 months after my mom's passing, while we were closing up the diner together, Ethan surprised me with a proposal. With all my heart, I said yes. The wedding was a small and intimate event with only a few close people. After the wedding, I moved in with him and his parents. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Eleanor had always been focused on wealth and status. I remember my mom telling me how Eleanor would discuss the diner business flourishing and then finding a girl for Ethan with an impressive background, someone from a wealthy family, a prestigious college graduate, and so on. It was surprising to learn that Ethan's parents, especially Eleanor, were supportive of our marriage. But at that time, I was preoccupied with my own grief and did not think much about it. Despite being aware of our relationship, Eleanor indirectly expressed her belief that her son deserved to be with someone of higher standing. One day, when the diner was busy, Ethan's friend Miles paid a visit. I was in the back doing inventory when I overheard snippets of Eleanor talking with Miles and his new wife, Sheila. I made my way to the front to say hi, but Eleanor rushed me away, not even introducing me properly. After they left, Eleanor and I got into an interesting conversation. "Well, that was Miles," I said. "Yeah, I've heard about him. He recently tied the knot, huh?" Eleanor replied. Oh, indeed, he married Sheila. She's an absolute gem, fantastic upbringing and all. Both her parents are top-notch doctors down in Orlando. She's quite a remarkable woman herself, practicing law. Impressive, really. A catch like her is what any man dreams of. Lucky guy, that Miles. I wish my Ethan had that kind of luck. What do you mean? Well, you know how it is. Sometimes I just wish he would have found someone who's, well, more put together. Like Sheila. It's funny how Ethan and Miles grew up together, liking the same things, and look at their wives now. Quite a contrast, huh? Eleanor, it's not always about what society thinks. Ethan and I have a history together, and our love runs deep. Sweetie, love is just a word sometimes. You're young, and I get that you're in love. But my love for Ethan is unconditional, and I believe that's the most precious thing in life. If you're claiming you love him so much, don't you think he deserves someone even better? I mean, when I look at you, with your mom gone and your dad disappearing, who knows when, if it weren't for Ethan, could you even take care of yourself? What do you have to offer? I know these words sting, but they're kind of true, don't you think? Eleanor's words hit me hard, and I was hurt. I tried to move past it, thinking maybe she needed time to accept me. Her comments really got to me, and I was angry. But deep inside, I couldn't help but wonder if there was a grain of truth in what she said. I was pretty insecure back then, which probably made her words cut even deeper. As for me and Ethan, things weren't as great as they used to be. I started questioning if he regretted marrying me. There was a growing distance between us, and I initially blamed it on the challenges we faced with the diner. But there was definitely a shift in our connection. It's been over 1.5 years since we got married, and during this time, Eleanor occasionally made hurtful remarks about my background. Despite those comments, I tried my best to stay calm and work on strengthening my relationship with Ethan. However, over time, I noticed a change in Eleanor's behavior. Her comments went beyond the occasional snide remark, and it became clear that something was off. She was acting unpredictably. Then one evening at the dinner table, something unexpected happened. A moment that would alter the course of my life in ways I could never have imagined. "How was your day, dear?" Eleanor asked. "It was all right. Actually, I've been wanting to announce something," Ethan said. "Mom, Dad, I've been thinking about this for quite some time. I think I'm going to invest some of my money in Nancy's education. It's always been her dream to go to college, and the diner is not doing well either." The whole dining room went dead quiet when Ethan dropped that unexpected bomb. I was stunned. He hadn't even talked to me about it beforehand. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife, and even Eleanor looked shaken. It was a sweet gesture, but a little heads up before dinner would have been nice. "What? Jesus Christ, Ethan," Eleanor exclaimed. "Mom, please don't overreact," Ethan pleaded. Richard, who had been silent, finally spoke up. "Let us hear Ethan out, dear." "Ethan and I have not discussed this," I interjected. "Ethan, I think it might be a good idea to chat about this one-on-one first." "No, you stop. You do not get to have a say in this," Eleanor snapped. "We took your mother in at the diner out of pity. Your alcoholic dad abandoned you. She was a single woman with an 8-year-old with no one to look out for her. You and your mother were nothing more than a sympathy project. We generously offered her a place in our diner for so long, and now you have managed to find your way into our house. My son deserved someone better than you, someone from a well-off family. He should be living a suburban life of luxury and sophistication. But instead, you are with him now, living under our roof, leeching off my son's success." "Honey, please hear me out," Ethan pleaded as I started to get up. "Do not leave." "I'm sorry, but I've had enough," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. After putting up with Eleanor's brutal and painful remarks, I just couldn't keep my composure anymore. I excused myself from the dining table and fled into the kitchen for some space. I hovered close to the kitchen door, secretly hoping to catch bits of the conversation unfolding at the table. Through the muted voices, I managed to pick up Ethan's voice rising above the rest. "Mom, can't you see what you're doing? I get it. Nancy isn't exactly your top choice for me, and maybe it started out as some sort of crush or whatever, but this has to stop. But look, she lost her mom, and I feel like she needs someone. Maybe I messed up, maybe I mixed up sympathy with love, but I just can't leave her hanging. She doesn't have anyone else in her corner. I'll admit our romantic spark has kind of fizzled, and I've grown apart from that, But Nancy's stuck in a tough spot. She's got nowhere else to turn. I've been thinking about paying for her college, and maybe after that, we can figure out the divorce route or whatever. I just can't kick her out to the curb like that. We've been in this thing since we were 16, you know. Look how she stormed off, Eleanor interjected. Oh my God, Ethan, I've seen this coming from the start. Nancy is nothing but trouble. You've let your emotions run wild. Pity isn't the foundation for a lasting relationship. You have grown, and it's time to think about your own future. This girl's problem should not be your burden. You cannot fix her life at the cost of ruining yours. I was completely floored by what I had just heard. Ethan had been with me out of pity. My heart shattered into a million pieces as our whole marriage felt like a sham. At that moment, I knew what I had to do. I had to give him what he seemed to want, a divorce. I made a bold choice to follow my dreams, which led me straight to Los Angeles. Against all odds, I figured I had nothing to lose. I snagged a small one-room apartment, setting up shop on a basic mattress. Relying on my waiting experience, I aimed to score a gig at a restaurant and jumpstart this new chapter in LA. After a bit of hustling, I landed a job at a restaurant. I got into a rhythm of living paycheck to paycheck, but I wasn't about to let that slow me down. In a few months, I got a sweet promotion to work directly under the restaurant manager. Life started to shift for the better. I wasn't just scraping by anymore. My hard work and skills were earning me some major recognition. I ended up diving into the world of high-end hotel management, working with places that rolled out the red carpet for A-listers. As my career grew, so did my lifestyle. I traded my simple apartment for a lavish house. After the heartbreak with Ethan, I pretty much lost all hope in love. But then Harry walked into my life. Our paths crossed at my friend Elisa's bougie birthday party bash on a yacht. I was still wrapping my head around all that fancy stuff rich people do. Harry had this magnetism about him, and he made me feel comfortable right away. He treated me with genuine respect and awe, like I wasn't some outsider but a legit part of his world. It turns out he was a big shot in the LA finance scene, with a loaded family and all that. It was seriously mind-blowing to find out that his dad, Mr. Johnson, was a billionaire. Fast forward to our wedding day. We tied the knot at a stunning vineyard in Los Angeles, and just last month we hit our first anniversary, which felt like a big deal. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about Ethan and his family during all this time. While I was out here hustling to make a name for myself, Eleanor's words had me feeling something. I kind of had this constant urge to prove to her that I could be successful on my own terms and that it was her son who let me down. Life indeed surprises us in countless ways, and it certainly did surprise me last weekend when my father-in-law hosted a soiree at their sprawling mansion in Bel Air. While I was mingling, my gaze locked onto someone across the room, and my heart went into overdrive. There, serving food, stood an elderly woman who bore a striking resemblance to Eleanor. My mind struggled to comprehend the possibility of her being here. Excusing myself from the company, I made my way to the lady, and yes, it was her. Hey, Eleanor. Hey, stranger. It's been long. It has. What are you doing here? Doing the whole catering thing here. Can you believe it? Rubbing shoulders with all these high-profile folks. Well, congrats on that honor. Thanks, but honestly, you've got a part in this. We might not have come this far if we were still dealing with some holdbacks. Pretty bold statement. I've always wanted what's best for the family. Sure thing, we shut down the old diner and leaped into the catering world. Ethan came up with the idea, and surprise, surprise, it's turning out to be a pretty profitable deal. Now we're crisscrossing the state catering to all sorts of events and fancy clients. We were in Glendale a few nights ago when Mr. Johnson asked us to cater for his party. You know, I never wished any ill will towards you, so I genuinely hope you're doing well. How's Ethan? Better than he used to be. Oh, and here's the kicker. Ethan has even moved on with his love life and snagged himself a new girlfriend. Usually he accompanies me on these trips, but this time he's off to Hawaii with her. She's a real delight to have around, or just like a living doll. She just seems perfect for my kid. But for him, Eleanor. By the way, what are you doing here? Who called you here? I'm sorry, but you are too poor to be here. You haven't changed at all, have you? Forget about me. Look at you, still trying to get your way around the rich. Old habits die hard, sweetheart. You will always be that girl from Fairfield, the one with nothing to offer. I'm here because I belong here, just like anyone else. No one called me. I came here with Harry, my husband, and also Mr. Johnson's son. Eleanor's face displayed a look of shock, but she played it cool and mean, as always. Don't think he will stick around forever. People like you never stay for long. Eventually, he will see that he deserves someone better, someone from his world. Harry is just naive. You have no idea how far I have come. I have a name in the hotel industry now, and never mind. You know that your wealth does not define you just as my past does not define me. I've worked hard to build a life for myself, and I'm proud of where I stand today. Well, aren't you full of yourself? You may have managed to climb the ladder, but you will never truly fit in with people like us. You will always be an outsider. You know I used to think that way too, but I have learned that truly belonging does not come from material possessions or social status. You've certainly grown bold, haven't you? Well, we will see how long that lasts. I have seen it all before. It's good that Ethan got rid of you. If you want to delude yourself, go ahead, but do not expect me to change my mind about you. I was all set to deal with Eleanor and show her I meant business, but suddenly, the sound of a spoon hitting a glass stole the spotlight. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may have your attention, please. Tonight, I stand before you with a lot of pride and joy in my heart. It is a momentous occasion as I pass on the torch of responsibility to the next generation. My son, Harry. I gave Harry a quick look, and our eyes connected for a second. I smiled at him, and I'm proud of you smile. His dad just handed him a whole business, making it his day to remember. It was his special day, and I was seriously determined not to let anyone from my past mess with the great thing I had going on at the moment. Nancy, my dear daughter-in-law, you have shown us the true meaning of strength and resilience. From the very moment I met Nancy, I was captivated by her tenacity, dedication, and unwavering commitment to her dreams. Her journey from a small town to the chaotic city of Los Angeles has impressed me. She is a remarkable young woman who has not only touched my son's heart, but also brought a lot of joy into our lives. Tonight, we celebrate not just the passing of the torch to my son Harry, but also the recognition of Nancy's extraordinary talent and potential. It is with absolute delight that I announce that Nancy will be taking charge alongside Harry as a key leader in our business. It was totally I made it moment to have Mr. Johnson, the big shot behind this business, acknowledge me and hand over this huge responsibility. I can't even put into words how much that means. With everyone clapping and cheering, Harry made his way to me, leaned in, and gave me a sweet little peck on the cheek. You deserve this as much as I do. I love you, baby. Cheers to us. I love you too. In the middle of all the hype, I hadn't forgotten the conversation I was having with Eleanor earlier. Now, with this huge announcement, I was itching to see her reaction and maybe just drop it on her. I scanned around and there was Eleanor right inside. Hey, I just phoned by to soak up this moment. You know, the one where I get to show you how off the mark you were about me. Oh, the golden days of your doubt. Remember when you thought I'd crash and burn in this world? I had valid concerns, okay? I mean, how could he? No. You got it all wrong. Well, those words just got upgraded to my achievements. Co-running this business with Harry, living the life I've always wanted. I did level up for your approval, but I can't deny that it's pretty satisfying watching you squirm. At that moment, a hint of satisfaction crept over me because it seemed like karma was doing its thing perfectly. With a little smug smile, I looked into her eyes, gaining a boost of confidence. Revenge might not be the noblest thing, but seeing Eleanor's jealousy written all over her face was a pretty satisfying win. It's been about a week since the big bash. I'm pretty sure Ethan's back from his vacation by now. Eleanor must have filled him in on the whole deal too. The feeling of proving myself to those who once doubted me is indescribable. It's a reminder that you never know what someone's really made of, and that even the biggest skeptics can be proven wrong. With Harry right there beside me, we are juggling not just one but two businesses. For the Evans, a lesson learned, and for me, well, let's just say I'm living life to the fullest, rich in every sense of the word. Hello, I'm Sarah, a 45-year-old successful businesswoman. I run a thriving company with my best friend Georgie. However, my life wasn't always like this. 3 years ago, my husband left me, and in my pursuit of revenge, I found a new beginning. But let's start from the beginning. I met Steve in high school. We often crossed paths but didn't start a relationship until about 10 years later, at our high school reunion. I remembered him as a nerdy, skinny guy, so I was pleasantly surprised to see him taller and more muscular. We got to talking, and Steve shamelessly flirted with me, which I liked. I flirted back, and before long, we had set up a date for the next day. We met at a gorgeous Italian restaurant, enjoying pasta, wine, and each other's company. We shared the same interests, and during that date, I asked him about his big dream. "So tell me, what's your big dream?" I asked. "Oh, that's something I have to think about," he replied. "Come on, you must have some sort of big dream that nags you every day." "Well, what's yours?" "Give me an example." "I want to own my own house." "Now it's your turn." "Not a bad dream. Then I guess I want to run my own successful business. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck." "Oh, I get that. Maybe if we last, I could help you with that." "I would like that. Not because you'd help me. I don't really care about that. I would like us to last." I couldn't help but smile. With a degree in business management, I had the knowledge, and Steve worked a minimum wage job doing data entry. I understood the struggle of living paycheck to paycheck, having grown up that way. I liked him and wanted to help him. That one date turned into many more, and soon we were practically living together. Eventually, I asked him to move into my larger apartment. About a year and a half later, I decided to help Steve start a business. We spent months brainstorming ideas, and I invested a portion of my savings into the venture. Steve had friends who were willing to help and invest too. I remember the night we registered his business. It was nerve-wracking, but we knew we had each other. We poured long hours into the business, and though it didn't take off immediately, we persevered. Gradually, we began to gain traction, and soon we were hiring more employees. When we had about 10 employees, Steve was thrilled. I laughed and told him he was capable of much more. To celebrate our achievement, Steve took me back to the Italian restaurant where we had our first date. It was there that he proposed to me. I was beyond happy and cried as I said yes. Juggling a fledgling company and wedding planning was tough. We lost countless nights of sleep and even considered eloping. But we wanted a big celebration. A year after our engagement, we had our dream wedding, surrounded by family and friends. Afterward, we focused fully on the business, and our hard work paid off. We started making millions. With our newfound wealth, the first thing we did was buy our own house. As the business grew, we were able to step back a bit. Then one day, Steve approached me. "We need to talk about something." "Is everything okay?" I asked, concerned. "Yeah, it's just that I think you should stay home." "Why?" "Am I doing something wrong?" "No, it's just that you deserve to rest. You've been working so hard." "But I love working with you." "I do too, but I don't work much anymore, and you still do." "I don't like that." "So you want me to quit because you feel emasculated?" "No, I just want you to relax a little. You deserve it. Please for me." Reluctantly, I agreed. I took my new free time seriously, reading, catching up on shows, and treating myself to spa days. But along with the relaxation came a nagging feeling that something was wrong with Steve. He began withdrawing from me, spending less time at home and more at work. Or so I thought. One night, he came home from an office party reeking of alcohol and a woman's perfume. "Why do you smell like a woman? Is there something you need to tell me?" I asked. "What? No, nothing like that." "Is that a lipstick stain on your neck?" "Of this, some girl was dared by her friends to do it. And you just let it happen." I wasn't going to deny a woman a free drink. Unbelievable. "Are you sure nothing else happened? Are you accusing me of cheating? How dare you?" "No, I just wanted to be reassured." "Just leave me. I'm going to sleep." I just wanted reassurance, but Steve's defensiveness only made me more suspicious. My heart ached at the thought that he might be cheating on me. I hoped and prayed to every god that it wasn't true, but as days passed, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling. Some days, Steve still came home smelling like another woman. Eventually, my curiosity got the better of me. I hired a private investigator. I know it was a gross violation of trust, but I needed to know. If Steve refused to tell me, I'd find out myself. The PI followed Steve around for a month. I wanted to know everything at the end of the month so I wouldn't have to endure the pain of hearing bad news repeatedly. That month was the longest month ever. Each day felt like an eternity, but eventually we reached the end. The PI asked to meet at a crowded cafe. I arrived early and waited anxiously. When he finally arrived, he carried a large folder. Inside were pictures of Steve kissing, going on dates, and even entering hotels with various women. My stomach dropped. I felt like throwing up. The PI looked at me with sympathy, but it got worse. I recognized the women. They were our employees. What was Steve thinking? Did he not realize how badly he was jeopardizing the company? Most of all, I was beyond hurt that he was cheating on me. Was this why he asked me to stop working, so he could sneak around behind my back? I was disgusted by what I had learned. It was a gross misuse of power dynamics in the workplace, and the betrayal after all the sacrifices I made for him was cruel. The following weeks were a blur of crying, sleeping, ice cream, and binge-watching TV. I don't know how the idea came to me, but after weeks of wallowing, I knew I couldn't keep feeling sorry for myself. Maybe confronting him would help. Maybe if he realized he would lose me, he'd change. Ha! What a fool I was. Steve, I need you to sit down and listen to me. Make it quick. I have somewhere to be. Yeah, probably at one of your young employees' houses. What? Yeah, I know about your affairs, which, by the way, is gross. Just because you make a lot of money now doesn't mean you get to abuse that power and take advantage of your employees, or to even forget how you got to this position in the first place. Look, I wasn't even trying to keep this a secret. I'm just surprised it took you so long to figure it out. Even you didn't care about me. Don't take this the wrong way, but after getting my position, I realized my worth. I deserve so much better than you. Excuse me. Well, you're not ugly, but you're also not exactly attractive to me. Anyway, what do you want to do about this situation? You are unbelievable. Does our relationship mean anything to you? It was fun while it lasted. I'm guessing you want a divorce. Don't worry, the papers will be here by tomorrow at the latest. As a token of gratitude, you can have the house. I have to go. Bye. I was burning with anger. I wanted to hurt him. I didn't care how. I needed to get back at him. All my sadness and hurt turned into an intense anger that made my skin feel like it was on fire. In the days I waited for the divorce papers to arrive, I started plotting my revenge. My first idea was to target his business. His business had changed him and made him this entitled man. So I would tear it down and through it, tear him down. I would love to watch him crash and burn. Since I already had experience starting a business, thanks to the late nights spent with Steve, starting a second one would be a piece of cake. This time, instead of being two inexperienced people, I invited my best friend Georgie, who had opened many successful businesses herself, to help me out with my new venture. I decided to let Georgie be the CEO because I needed my name to be less visible so I could silently take down Steve's company. By the time Steve and I had settled our divorce, I was the owner of our house. I decided to sell it and use the money as an investment in my new firm. It was beyond risky, and I lost a lot of sleep in the first few months, but our sharp business minds allowed Georgie and me to make smart decisions. Pretty quickly, our company began to grow and make huge profits. Another thing to note was that Steve's company began to nosedive. Steve partied too hard and began to neglect his job, which is probably why he never saw us as a true rival. If I had been in his place, a company like mine would have made me panic, but Steve was too busy partying and sleeping with any young woman who gave him attention. Georgie and I steadily expanded our firm, hiring more people and expanding our markets. We also monitored the stocks of Steve's company closely. Georgie and I came up with our next course of action after a few too many glasses of wine. You know, I am grateful for you, I said. Oh honey, I hardly did much. Most of this is your hard work. Plus, I would never turn down the opportunity to get back at Steve. You never really liked him, did you? I'm just saying he manipulated you into funding his firm and working there for free. It was so risky, and then he completely ditched you. Are you sure this is all the revenge you want to get on him? What do you mean? We're beating his firm in the markets and will soon be the #1 firm. What more can we do? Look, this is the kind of revenge a friend would get on their other crappy friend, not the kind of betrayed wife would get on her ex-husband. How will we buy out his company? Buy him out? How are we possibly going to do that? We don't have that kind of money, and I don't think Steve would be willing to give up his cash cow. We definitely don't have the money to buy it outright, and I think the same about Steve. But you know what we do have money for? Stocks. How much? We buy a majority of the stocks, and then we get to make executive decisions. Holy cow, you're a genius. I definitely am. You're welcome. It took a couple of months of monitoring Steve's company stocks, and we began to see a huge dip in the prices. We decided to swoop in and buy about 25% of the stocks. This gave us an exclusive veto and a place at the table to make executive decisions as planned. With each passing month, Steve's neglect of his company worsened its profits. They eventually had to ask us for funds to keep the company afloat. Did we have the funds? Of course. Did we give it to them? Of course not. We also blocked their efforts to raise funds via their other investors and stockholders. As a result, their company began to crash. Georgie and I watched gleefully as they struggled to stay afloat. Desperation set in, and Georgie requested a meeting with Steve's board of directors. Steve never showed up, but in a last-ditch effort to save the company, the board decided it was best to sell. Since Georgie and I held the majority vote, Steve's input wasn't needed. We bought the company for practically nothing. The rush of happiness and satisfaction at what we had accomplished was overwhelming. Just 2 days after the paperwork for buying Steve's company was processed, Steve showed up at my house. I don't know how he found my address because after my business took off, I bought myself a new house, known only to a few family members and Georgie. I figured Steve reached out to one of my family members who inadvertently gave him my address. Steve, what are you doing here? I don't know how to tell you this. It's embarrassing, actually. Spit it out, Steve. I don't have time for this. Well, I've been thinking a lot recently. That's really good. Wow, I'm so proud of you. Please let me speak. I've been thinking, and I realize that I really miss having you in my life. If you don't mind, would you come back to me? How come the sudden missing? Is it because your company is dying? How do you know about the company? The situation hasn't been released anywhere yet. Well, to answer your first question, I'm not interested in coming back to you. To answer your second question, you're going to miss more than me. You're going to miss your company. Huh? I just bought it. What? Oh, Steve, you really should have paid more attention to your firm instead of partying and sleeping around. Why would you do that? You knew it was my biggest dream to own a successful company. You were unbelievable. I tried to tell you it was unfair that you were leaving me after I helped you start your business, but you didn't care. Neither do I right now. I wish you all the best. Goodbye. I shut the door in Steve's face with a smirk. It was exhilarating to watch Steve fall from his high horse. In the days that followed, my company officially bought Steve's, and the media was made aware of everything. Steve tried contacting me multiple times, but I just blocked him. Eventually, all the employees he slept with came forward and spoke about their experiences with Steve. The public was outraged. They sued him for gross misconduct, and Steve lost a lot of money in settlements. Steve struggled to get back on his feet. He even emailed me asking for financial help, claiming I was responsible for his downfall. I wrote him a strongly worded email, making it clear he was the only one responsible for his situation. I refused to help him and warned that if he continued to contact me, I would report him for harassment. It's been a few months since all this transpired. I thought it would hurt to see Steve struggle, but it actually felt freeing. I don't know what's happening with him anymore, but I do know that I'm thriving. My business is doing great, and Georgie and I are working towards taking the company even higher. For the longest time, I let Steve's words and thoughts of me affect me, but it took a huge push for me to see otherwise. Never doubt yourself and never be too afraid to take a risk. You never know how life will reward you.